Season 2, Episode 15, Mother's Day Edition. Normal Podcast 2020 edition, where information and conversation leads to revelation. I am your host, Kevin D. Bradley. Playtime over. It's the big leagues. Hey, we have a wonderful podcast for you on this Mother's Day weekend, this Mother's Day edition. Oh man, I'm truly excited and just so happy that the show, the podcast that was put together, and the interviews that you're about to hear, it's wonderful. The insight, the wisdom of these ladies, man. I'm talking about I'm taking notes. I'm really taking to heart what each and every person, lady, woman has shared and said, and I am overjoyed that the information and the wisdom and their experience that's being shared, I'm able to give voice to on this platform, and especially this Mother's Day edition. So I will no longer prolong the time, but in true New Normal Podcast 2020 edition fashion, let's get to our quote of the day. Our quote of the day is this: when you are a mother, you are never really alone in your thoughts. A mother always has to think twice, once for herself and once for her child. That quote is written by Sophia Loren. Let's get to our scripture of the day. 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 Our scripture of the day comes from Proverbs 31, verses 25 through 28. And this is the NLT version, the New Living Translation version. It says this: she is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. When she speaks, her words are wise, and she gives instructions with kindness. She carefully watches everything in her household and suffers nothing from laziness. Her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her. That's Proverbs 31, 25 through 28. So without further ado, let's get into these interviews.
Hello, my name is Bex, and I want to share 3 things I experienced being a mother. Now, I had my daughter 24 years ago, so bear with me because I have many years of experience. Now, let me tell you what was the most challenging moment as a mother. Now, to be honest, I have 24 years of challenges. So if I could pick one that was probably the hardest, and I probably even have like a little PTSD from it, it would be being a single parent. I had my daughter when I was in high school, and even though I knew what I was signing up for, I knew I was going to be a single parent, it didn't make it any easier. So, not only from the financial standpoint of being a single mother, but also having to handle all of the responsibilities, from making it to every one of her school functions, to talking to the teachers, to making sure she gets to all of her sports practices on time, making sure she has food on the table, shopping, just everything that you can think of when it comes to raising a child. I had to do all of it. Now, my mother helped with some of the parts, but for the most part, I raised my daughter on my own. And that was possibly the reason why I only had one. And I never wanted to do it again, because there's a little bit of trauma that's involved with staying up at night trying to figure out how you're going to put food on her table the next day. Not our table, because some days I didn't eat because I couldn't afford to feed both of us. I couldn't afford to get shoes for both of us. I can only afford to get shoes for her. Clothes, hair, everything that you can think of that a girl needs and wants, I can only afford to do that for one of us. So it was always her. So being a single parent, that has to be my most challenging. And even though she's 24, I still don't like being a single parent. I still wish I had the ability to call and get help from her father. Now, let me make this clear. She has a father. She talks to her father. He's not absent, but he's not hella active either. Over the past 24 years, there have been many accomplishments. And because I'd like to think I did a great job with my daughter, her accomplishments feel like my accomplishments because we're one. But if I really, really had to dig deep and think about what is my greatest and most memorable accomplishment, it would have to be me graduating high school. Prior to finding out I was pregnant with her, I was about to quit. I was a class clown. I cussed teachers out on the regular. I really didn't even have a reason to go to school, to be honest. My mom quit school. My sister quit school. Everybody in my family quit school. So I didn't think I was any different. I was just going to quit and get a job and help my mom with the bills. But the universe had other plans for me. I found out I was pregnant. And even though I knew I was going to raise her by myself, I was ready for the challenge, because I did not want to bring my daughter into this world as a high school dropout. So I went to Saturday school, night school, and summer school, just so I can get enough credits to graduate. By then, I had been in high school 5 years. So, it didn't matter to me. I had to do whatever I had to do to graduate. And my counselor actually gave me an extra credit as well, because without that, I would have had to go for the 6th year. So shout out to her. But my greatest accomplishment was graduating high school with my daughter in the audience watching it. There's really no greater feeling than that. The moment when you were ready to give up, you were ready to throw in the towel and just become another statistic. But instead, you went harder and you gave it all you got. And then you see the outcome of that hard work. So yeah, that was my greatest accomplishment. If I could give any moms some advice or words of wisdom when raising kids in this climate, I have a few. I'll try to keep them brief. First and foremost, pick your battles. Not everything needs to be a fight, a debate, or an argument. For example, let your children express themselves freely, whether that's through their hair, through their clothes, however that looks. Give them the space to find their own identity. Let them be themselves. And even though the way these kids act today is not how you were raised, they're not supposed to be. They're a different generation. They're surrounded by things that we as parents never had to deal with. They're fighting battles that we would never imagine. Which leads me to number 2. Be that safe space for them. Like, I get the whole, that's my child, I'm not their friend. I get that. But it's okay to be their friend. It's okay to be that safe space, because if you're not that safe space, they're going to go looking for one. And at least if you're the safe space, you have control over the type of advice that you're giving to them. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable, but it'll be way more uncomfortable if your children have to go to the wrong place to get that advice. So allow them to be themselves and quit trying to control their lives based on the way you were raised. You're not them and they're not you. And lastly, which is my personal favorite, be their biggest fan. Be their paparazzi. Celebrate their accomplishments. If you have girls, don't wait until they're dressed up to tell them that they're beautiful. Celebrate their natural hair. Celebrate their natural skin, their face, their body. Like, celebrate them. Because we live in a world that profits off of our low self-esteem and our low confidence and our insecurities. And I know firsthand what happens when you don't get those affirmations as a child. Be their biggest fan. If you have sons, show them how a man is supposed to treat a lady. Teach them how to deal with rejection from a woman's perspective. I can't tell you how to raise sons because I never had to raise one. But if I can end this, I would say in all situations, always choose love and listen and don't judge. That's all I got. And I'd like to add one more thing, if I may. If a young person just happens to be listening to this, I want to tell you something. Be patient with your mom. Many of us are doing the best we can with what we have. A lot of us are just figuring it out as we go. We don't have all of the answers. I know me, as a mom, the scariest thing is making the wrong decision. Because ultimately, I don't want to give my daughter a life that she's going to have to heal from later. So sometimes I can be all over the place because I don't know if I'm making the right decision or the wrong decision. So be patient with your mom. Communicate with your mom. Let her know how you feel, but also let her know you appreciate her. Not for what she bought you, but just for spending time with you or having conversations. And lastly, be present with your mom. Put your phone down and go sit next to her, watch a movie, play board games, or just talk to her. Because a lot of times, that's the greatest memory that we will ever have. Is the gift of being present. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Keniqua McAdams. I am originally from Pontiac, Michigan. I was raised in Nashville, Tennessee, and I currently live in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm 40 years old. I am a single mom of 2 high school boys, and I am a lawyer in a Delta. I love being a mother, and I believe that it is the most important and rewarding role that I have. I was blessed with an amazing mother, and I simply hope that one day my sons will say the same about me. My most challenging moment as a mother, I don't think it's even occurred yet. I think that I'm approaching the moment that's going to be the most challenging for me, because I have two sons that are in high school. They're pretty close in age. So I have a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old. And we're approaching the moment to where my son is selecting a college. My oldest son is getting ready to leave for college. And my youngest son is going to be right behind him in about 2.5 years as well. And so it hasn't happened yet, but I can feel it coming. And it's going to be the moment where he goes off to college. I think one of the easiest parts of being a mother is knowing, your routine. Your child's going to wake up and come home every day, and you're going to feed them breakfast, and you're going to get to see them off to school, and you're going to get to tell them good night and kiss them good night before they go to bed. And so the part I'm dreading is where he goes off to college, and I might not see him every day, and I might not have our normal routine, but that's when I'm going to have to trust that I've raised him and prepared him for this real world. And I'm going to have to trust God and, have faith that he's going to be safe every day. And for me, I think that that's going to be challenging. That I think when they're out of your household, all you can do is pray and have faith that God's going to take care of them and that you've raised them and prepared them properly for the world. The most rewarding moment for me is similar. It's when they're not with you and you get compliments from other people about your child's behavior. It's one thing for you to be around your children or them to be in your presence and behave and show the world the values and characteristics that you've instilled in them. But when they're not around you, they have a choice. And that's, I think, when their real personality comes out. And so when you get compliments about your children's behavior at school or when they're away from you, that is rewarding for me, because I feel like, I must have did something right, and the world can see, and they're choosing to make good choices when they're out of your presence. And for me, that's rewarding. And the advice I would give to new mothers who are raising their kids in today's society. I saw a question on the internet recently, and it said that we can't raise our kids the way our parents did because we're preparing them for a world that doesn't exist anymore. And so I pondered the question, and I kept thinking, I think I agree and I disagree with that statement. There are things that will always remain the same. You can teach your kids to have faith. You can teach your kids respect and to have boundaries and honor and courage and about God, and those type of values and characteristics are timeless. So I do believe that there are some timeless things that you can instill in your children. But on the other part, I do agree that, the world is coming up with some useful technology now that our parents didn't have access to. And I am kind of skeptical. So in the beginning, I didn't. But now I would say I rely on such things daily. So for instance, there's an app, Life 360. And so when my son first started driving, we all installed Life 360 on our phone. And I have come to swear by this app. It allows you to see where your children are going. It tells you what percentage their phone is on. It tells you if they've been speeding. It can alert you if they've been in a car accident. It can send emergency assistance to the location that they're at. And so, for things today, sometimes you want to utilize technology with your children. Another good app is Khan Academy, and it is a free tutoring resource for kids. So if you're struggling in any subject, math, science, English, there's a plethora of subject areas that your kids can review. It will send you a report, and it will teach them some of the lessons that they could possibly be not mastering in school. And so back in the day, our parents didn't have these resources. And they had to maybe, sit down with their kids and tutor them. And you'd have to pray when your kid gets in the car that they're going to come back safely. But if there's technology that can assist you, today we can utilize it. We can look into ways to improve our parenting by the use of technology. Now that also comes with the challenge that you must have some safeguards in place and limit your children's access to all technology. So, for instance, I also use my Xfinity app, and you can mark your child as a minor, which will limit what they have access to on the internet. Or we also shut down a timer on our internet around the house just to make sure that people are going to bed on time and not utilizing the internet. And so, like I said, I do things similar to my parents in terms of the values and characteristics I want to instill in my children, but I am also utilizing today's technology to help assist and prepare them for the world that they will be encountering.
My name is Sasha Lane. I am 41 years old. I am mother to an incredible 23-year-old young man whom I love with every fiber of my being. He is just incredibly talented, intelligent, wise, well beyond his years. That is one of my best friends in the whole wide world. I mean, as good of friends as you could be with your child. I mean, obviously there's some boundaries there, very different than what there would be, for a girlfriend or, one of your peers. But that's my dog. Like, he's just amazing. He just makes my life better. As hard as it is being a parent, I would not have it any other way. I'm currently living in Atlanta with my husband, to whom I've been married to for the past year and a half, along with my 3-year-old stepdaughter, whom we have full time. I love to travel, relax. I love luxury spas, but I'm also outdoorsy. I like hiking and luxury travel, international travel, shopping. I am a VP at a cyber tech firm, FinPro actually. Been in the tech sector for a while, also dabble in real estate. I love being able to buy my freedom. I think that's like one of my philosophies in life is just to cultivate a life to where I can be as free as possible.
What is or was your most challenging moment as a mom? I think my most challenging moment is still and was balance. Being that I raised Elijah by myself, um, not to discount my village because they were absolutely amazing and I could not have done it without them. I had help. My family is amazing. Let me just preface this statement by saying that. But again, balance would be the most difficult for me because having a son and being a woman, there are just some deficits that are there for me as a mother. I'm not a man. I don't know how to be a man. I am tough. I am no nonsense, but I'm still not a man. And my inability to teach my son how to be a man, but yet still provide that authoritative, no nonsense role, coupled with like the nurturing, feminine role that I had to play, like bouncing back and forth between those. It's like I might really, get on him about something and be no nonsense and be hard, ground him, make him do 1,000 write offs or what have you. But at the same time, I'm going to cuddle him. I'm going to make his plate. I'm going to get up and get him seconds. I'm going to purchase whatever it is that he needs within reason. Um, Thankfully Elijah was or and is, let me not manifest that into the air. Elijah is a phenomenal young man, and I used to tell him all the time that he makes my life easier. And you may be thinking like, well, you as a single mother, like how can this child make your life easier? But Elijah really helped me to grow up, um at a faster rate, I guess, than I would have without having him. And he just is amazing. And just, I did the best that I could. And I tried to balance then. I'm trying to balance now that he is a young adult, and just trying to not baby him and do everything for him. I don't want to shortcut any lessons that he needs to learn. But at the same time, I am grateful to be in a position to be able to provide for him financially. Like I am able to, pay for college tuition out of pocket, right? I am able to slide him a few dollars if his account is low. I am able to do these things for him, and it's not even any type of sacrifice, but because I thankfully have, this opportunity to be able to provide to him, even as a young adult. It's still a battle with balance because I don't want to cripple him. I don't want to, do any of that. And I think I'm doing a pretty decent job at it. But we'll see. To be determined. Okay, question 2. What is your most memorable accomplishment you've experienced thus far as a mom? Okay, this is interesting. My most memorable accomplishment. I don't know if this is not my accomplishment, but more so Elijah's accomplishment. When Elijah was younger, he was, as I like to describe, soft as cake in the middle. And I knew nothing about that life. I was I was going to bully the bully. Like I'm standing up for everyone. Everyone knew not to mess with me. I am beating kids up on my brother's behalf. Like I was just that kid. Like I didn't get bullied. And so me trying to obviously refrain from, beating up fourth and fifth graders. He had this one particular bully that was like older than him, and he just gave him hell. Like he gave it to him. And I would always encourage Elijah to just hit this kid in the mouth. Like, let's just stop. And I only said that because I knew that my son would not have done that, right? Like, my parents could not have told me that as a child because I would have absolutely done that. But I just kind of went overboard with, I went to the extreme because I knew that that just wasn't him. He was not going to do that. He didn't have that in him. But I wanted him to understand that, like, you're going to have to stand up to this person at some point. And I got him involved in sports. I dressed him to the nines. I did everything that I could to build his confidence. Went to camps, whatever it was that I could think of to build him up, right? Fast forward, he gets to high school. The same bully is on the football team with him. And one day at practice, Elijah asked the coach if he could go play defense because this bully of his was getting ready to run the ball. So coach let Elijah go on defense. By this time, Elijah was a lot bigger, 6 foot, probably close to 200 pounds. And this kid was just a tall, skinny kid. So Elijah wrapped him up. I mean, literally like airlifted him and threw him on the ground. And the kid got up and he was like, you don't have to do that. And blah, blah, blah. And Elijah pushed him back down on the ground and basically whooped his butt. I don't know what type of crowd this is, but like for me as a mom, that was like one of my proudest moments, like seeing him go through this journey and now able to advocate and stand up for himself. I mean, obviously, guys, football is a very physical sport. It is a violent sport. And me as a mom, not that I need to explain myself, I was all for it. I was so proud. I've probably told this story a million times. Just to see him persevere, just to see me not step in the way and try to intervene. It was really hard for me to see my child endure bullying, but he had to be the one to stop that. Not only because I just personally feel that that's the best route, but because he is a boy becoming a man, and he just had to have that coming from within. Now, obviously, I would have stepped in if there was any sort of like physical violence or anything like that towards my son, but I'm not going to go parade myself around the school and tell people to stop picking on my son. Like that just is not, that's not how it's going to happen. So anyway, seeing my son finally stand up for himself, and even he felt accomplished in that moment. And now the kid like wants to be his friend. Like he thinks he's the coolest thing, right? So I'd say that was, I don't know if that's the biggest, but that just is something that comes to the top of mind when thinking about something I saw my son go through for years, and then he finally, persevered and came out on top. Final question. What wisdom and advice would you share with moms raising kids in today's climate? Make these kids talk to you. One of the things that even my own mother commends me on is the relationship that I have with my son. My son and I are so close to the point where I have to sometimes stop him from telling me too much because I am his mother and I don't want to know everything. I want to be able to help him and guide him, of course. And I really hate that old school, like, we're not friends, I'm the parent. Like that's just dumb, right? Like I am my child's friend and we've always been friends. However, there are boundaries in place to establish that parent child relationship. But if you actually look up the definition of friend, it means a person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection. And then it goes on to explain that a true friend, stands up for you when others try to hurt you emotionally, physically. They do everything they can to make sure you stay safe. They don't care who's trying to harm you. They will defend you anytime, anywhere. If they can help you, they'll do it without reservation. A friend is honest, someone who speaks from the heart with good intentions. They tell you what you need to hear rather than gossip behind your back. A friend is trustworthy, and not only are your secrets safe with them, but also are your vulnerabilities, fears, weirdness, whatever. And that really embodies my relationship with my child and always has. So we are friends and we've always been friends, even when he was, a young kid. So I think I would encourage parents to maybe let go of some of those old sayings or, phrases that we've kind of held on to for all of these generations. Because when you do that and you get away from those things that really just don't make any sense, honestly, and just be there for your kid, make them talk to you. I was very intentional about us having those open lines of communication. Being communicative with my son was something that I always wanted to do. Reason being is because I had my son when I was 18. Although I felt like my parents did a phenomenal job raising me, um, very functional, loving, non-toxic, not none of the issues that I have learned about in adulthood with other people that they've gone through with their families. But one of the things that my mom even has told me is that she wishes that we would have communicated more, that we would have been closer. Um, and I think that maybe that could have prevented me from being a young mom. Maybe not, because I probably wouldn't have listened anyway. But anyway, so I think I would just encourage people to speak openly with their kids, tell them, what it is. Um, if your kids are having trouble communicating with you or coming to you about things, the issue is you. It's not your kids. You've not cultivated an environment to where they feel safe, where they feel like they can come to you with absolutely anything. And so I would just encourage you to, maybe redefine your relationships, because you do need to be your kid's friend. Because I'm not going to talk to anybody I'm not going to trust anyone or talk to anyone that I don't feel is my friend. If I can only look at you as a person of authority, like, I'm not going to want to talk to you about my innermost secrets or something that I'm struggling with or something that, I need help with or need to know about, or whatever. Like, you need to open those lines of communication, especially in this digital age. It is imperative that you be all in your kids' business, but also give them the autonomy to do whatever it is that they need to do, within reason, of course, within the boundaries that you've set forth for them. But I guess that would be it. I had another one, but I've been talking too long, so I think I'll go with that one. Communication.
Hello, my name is Michelle Bradley, and I am a mom, a mommy, mother, and a ma. As a teen, I did not see myself having kids. I wanted to be the rich auntie. After I got married, though, I desperately and definitely wanted children. After trying unsuccessfully, my doctor looked me in my face and told me that I would not have kids because of the cyst on my ovaries. But God, 15 years and 3 kids later, I have a 15-year-old, a 10-year-old, and an 8-year-old, soon to be 9-year-old. And wow, to say the least. What was and what is the most challenging for me as a mom is letting my children grow beyond my control, my protection, my care. And I said letting them grow because it's not letting them go, but from a baby to 5 years old to 10 years old, the things that I controlled when they were newborn, they don't need me to control as a 5-year-old, right? They can feed themselves, take themselves to the bathroom, put their clothes on, and so forth and so on as they age. And I don't want them to hurt. I don't want them to experience unnecessary pain or setbacks or failures, because, I just love them so. Like, carrying them, giving birth to them, they are the only person that can, like, make your heart beat and break at the same time. But what I am learning in, current tense, I haven't mastered, but I'm learning that it's not the hits or the jabs that, you are protected from that make you strong. It's the ones that you actually take and you recover from and learn how not to get hit again. That's what makes you strong. And so it just makes me think, keeping them from everything, under my protection and care, and is not what makes them bloom and blossom, is not what makes them grow and become exactly who God created them to be. Although from my vantage point, it can be so painful to see, or it's so painful to do. I guess just because it's more comfortable for me if they don't hurt, because when they hurt, I hurt. And sometimes even when they don't hurt, I still hurt. So that's the most challenging thing for me as a mom, is letting them grow. Memorable accomplishment, I don't have a single one. It's as a whole, when I look at those three, I feel so accomplished. I feel so blessed and so excited to see them, become adults and come into, their own, and go off and create their own lives and get married and, create little lives that they bring back to me to love and spoil. And even in that, I don't even know that I consider that a personal accomplishment, because I really know and believe, for me, it's God's doing when I look at them. But I would say, if I had to say like a memorable accomplishment, it's just not giving up. Parenting is hard. It's hard as hell. And, it doesn't take away from the beauty and the joy that it also brings. But it is hard, and it's, man, different things and instances and moments that you feel overwhelmed, or that you just can't, or, it's just, you could really see, why you would like just check out or leave, or just, abandon ship, and so I just am so grateful to God, that as I have been persistent and insistent on pursuing Him when I have those moments, and He's never failed me, and I know He never will, but just not giving up or giving out, because of His keeping power, for sure. But just those three in totality are just a great accomplishment to me. What advice or wisdom would I give moms raising kids in today's climate? I'm raising kids in today's climate. And I would say the best advice as a parent, as a mom, that I could give, that I give myself, I have to remind myself daily, is to trust God. And man, I know that can sound so cliche and churchy, depending on your background. But it's the truth, because you cannot be everywhere with your children, and you cannot keep them from the journey that is their own. You cannot carry the weight of worrying, about if they will, or, what if, or why not, or how come, or why won't they? It is too much. You cannot bear it. You just can't. And so for me, when I say trust God, it's that, okay, I'm going to do what I know to do. I'm going to seek you, God, and raise them in the way that I believe you want me to, and let you have it, because it's beyond me. As they say, it's above me, literally. So the best advice that I could give is to have a relationship with God. For me, that is through Jesus Christ. It's to each his own, but you need a relationship with someone bigger than yourself, with reach far beyond your own, because you're limited, and they're going to leave, they're going to go out, they're going to grow up, and you need to be able to lay those weights aside, and trust God, and trust that, they are our children, but ultimately they belong to him, because he purposed them before they were even in our wombs. He had a plan for them before they even, could utter a word. So, just trust in that. Okay, God, I'm going to do what I believe you're telling me to do, the way I believe you're telling me to do it. And then, you going to handle the rest. So that's what I would say.
As we conclude this podcast, the New Normal Podcast 2020 edition, where information and conversation leads to revelation, follow me. Follow me. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow the New Normal Podcast 2020 edition on all social media platforms. Special recognition and many thanks to Becky Russell, Kaniqua McAdams, Natasha Lane, and Michelle Bradley for excellent interviews and being willing and transparent and full of wisdom and insight. As a community, as a parent, as a dad, I'm better from what you shared. And I pray all who listen are better as well. It's been real. As we celebrate this Mother's Day edition, Season 2, Episode 15, may all mothers enjoy your weekend. May you be showered with gifts, love, and free creams and lotions. Peace.